sarà questo focus, questo approfondimento su un mercato che è diventato molto importante per il mondo delle fragranze e della profumeria, il Middle East. E a parlarcene sarà un vero esperto di questo settore, non solo delle fragranze. Lui si definisce un uomo di marketing, ma con una speciale passione e amore per le fragranze e per i profumi, soprattutto di nicchia e di lusso, ma anche un conoscitore molto approfondito di quella regione. Ed è Shahzad Haider, che ringraziamo molto di essere qui con noi. 41 anni, nato in Pakistan con un esercito di fratelli e di sorelle, an army of brothers, of sisters spread all over the world, che si sono ormai distribuiti un po' in tutto il mondo. Lui vive a Dubai da anni, dove è chairman della Fragrance Foundation Arabia, che è un'organizzazione ovviamente commerciale, ma che ha anche il compito, vorrei dire, non so se è un'espressione opportuna, ma anche di educare, anche di promuovere un certo gusto e anche di promuovere degli scambi tra la cultura olfattiva medio orientale e quella occidentale. Il Middle East è diventato importante non solo, noi occidentali abbiamo questo riflesso automatico per cui pensiamo a questi nuovi paesi come posti dove andare a vendere, che ovviamente è così, ma il Middle East la cultura olfattiva del Middle East è diventata così importante perché le essenze, i profumi di quelle terre hanno un crescente successo nella industria della profumeria. Di tutto questo ve ne parlerà Shahzad, che è anche direttore di uno dei dipartimenti di una delle facoltà di moda francese, ESMO, che ha sede a Dubai, quindi è un eclettico in questo settore. Dopo la sua presentazione avremo il piacere di invitare sul palco un nostro amico, Chandler Burr, che da poco è diventato parte del comitato tecnico di fragranze. Chandler Burr è uno dei parfum critic più noti al mondo ed è anche un curatore di bellissime mostre, e tra queste vorrei ricordare The Art of Scent, che ha appena chiuso al Museum di Arts of Design di New York. Con lui Shahzad avrà un po' una conversazione anche più libera rispetto alla presentazione. Shahzad, it's your turn. So, yes.
First of all, how we say in the Middle East, Assalamu alaikum. Very good morning to everybody who's attending. We will try to get a little bit of sneak peek into the fragrance industry of the Middle East. I would like to share some of the information, some of the outlook more towards the consumer marketing. What do they like, how they're behaving, what is the trend happening, a little bit of sneak peek so that we get a little bit of feel about what is happening in that side of the world. And then I'll be honored to have discussion with Chandler on few of the points which interest everybody. So I will try to start my presentation with a small, very, very small video, if I can ask to play a small video. Okay, this was a small sneak peek what's happening in the retail business. If any of you not have been into Dubai or the Middle East, you must have seen the presentation. You will notice lots of international brands being present there at the best of the places and best of the stores. We'll start with simply, because I say it again, my name is Shahzad Haider. I'm chairman of Fragrance Foundation Arabia. It's a global organization. I will just talk 1 or 2 slides about the Fragrance Foundation, and then we'll get to the scene of the Middle East fragrance industry. The Fragrance Foundation history is that it was obviously founding members Elizabeth Arden, Coty Garland, Halle Rubinstein, and Chanel, who developed educational programs about the importance and pleasure of fragrances. Established in 1949 and since headquartered in USA. And in UAE, in Dubai, we started this project in 2008. And the mission statement globally we follow with respect to enhance the image of the fragrance industry and expand the appreciation and use of fragrance in all its forms across all distribution channels globally. Right now, we are obviously head office in USA. We're in Australia, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Russia, United Arab Emirates from where I came, and obviously United Kingdom, London. In terms of industry contributors, we do cater towards these facets of fragrance industry. Starts from manufacturers, brand custodians, retailers, distributors, suppliers, media, sporting organization, and government authorities. We work very closely with government authorities in terms of, especially in the Middle East, in terms of standardization, regulation, custom authorities, because in some of the areas of the Middle East, and most of it, we do not have proper standards and regulation about the fragrance in terms of the brands. So we are working with federal government on these kind of issues, counterfeiting and all that stuff. What we have done recently in the Middle East, that we have started a market research. You will be surprised to know that in the Middle East, with the booming market shares and the booming sales of fragrances, where all the international brands want to go into the Middle East, but officially we do not have any numbers which are certified with respect to its size of the business, market share, or even what are the spendings in terms of the consumer spendings. So we do not have, in fact, authenticated, certified numbers in that respect. But we, as a Fragrance Foundation, have started that we are working on a market research. We're working on 3 levels, basically. We have started a consumer study in terms of consumer preferences, because we have a cosmopolitan location over there. So we are doing a consumer study. We are doing a market research in terms of a retail panel where we get to know the market shares and the size of the market. And on top of it, we are doing the overall international and Middle Eastern fragrance bifurcation with respect to its segment of consumers and the product segment. So these 3 studies are in progress. I should be having some numbers and some results ideally by middle of next year. But we have started this and we have got everybody on board, which matters. In terms of standardization and anti-counterfeit, and obviously FFA initiative of IP, intellectual property protection, and anti-counterfeiting. So we are working with government and authorities in order to develop that. So these are, to our understanding, is the basics. So we, as you can see, on these things, we are just on the basics of it with respect to its organization and standard of fragrances. So yes, it's huge, it's fantastic. Spending on fragrances and beauty products is overwhelming, but we do not still have these kind of numbers. And all the numbers you read or hear mostly are speculations. They are not authenticated and they cannot be certified. Okay, let's talk about the Middle East. Yeah, this is some kind of, okay. Middle East, because I was here for the last 2-3 days and we were talking to a few people. To our understanding, where I come from, we have 2 sections of Middle East. One Middle East, we call it GCC, which is Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and obviously the UAE. The other Middle East could be Iraq, Iran, Syria, Egypt, all of that stuff. But that is, again, a different Middle East. So we do not normally, when we say Middle East fragrance industry, we cater to these countries which I just mentioned in the beginning: Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. Okay, what's happening? Arab world, youth rules. 143 million youth population in the Arab world, adding more than 1 million every year. More than 50% of population below 24 years. I think this is an eye-opener for any fragrance brand who want to enter into the Middle East. It's a young population, and mind you, it's a rich population, and they have a huge disposable income in their hand. What's growing? Sizable growing. Saudi youth spend around $266 per month on their personal indulgence, their personal stuff. And in UAE, Dubai, and other Emirates, it's around $370 per month. When we say self, we are talking about here is personal indulgence, beauty care, and that includes skin, beauty, makeup, and fragrances. And when I say beauty and makeup, that includes men also who uses creams for their skin care, their beauty care, and all that stuff. A young and growing population means marketers are looking at a huge and increasing proportion of young minds listening to their message and evaluating their brands. Let's talk about online media. Online media, which is, maybe it's a surprise for you guys, online media is growing at a very, very fast pace. If you can see it, in the last 3 months, Facebook population in the UAE only increased around 12.38%, 359,220 new members. This rate makes the UAE one of the countries with the highest Facebook penetration. And when I say highest in the country, I'm talking about the Middle East in particular. And if you can see this, the entire graph, how it's going crazy, because there is so much, mostly people who have a lot of money to spend on themselves, they and they have a lot of time on their hand as well. So they have money and the time. In Europe and in the rest of the world, the people who have money, they don't have time. But in Middle East, the people who have time, they have lots of money. Okay, so and they're free because they're not doing anything, but they have a lot of money. When they have a lot of money, they do a lot of other things, which I can talk and I cannot talk. But out of these, they spend a lot of time online. And especially, like for example, in Saudi Arabia, the maximum number of online buying happens in Saudi Arabia from women. Because they don't enjoy it so much going out in the malls. So they sit home and buy things online, which is, I think, very, very impressive. Okay, what are the factors considered while buying a perfume? Obviously, top is fragrance itself. How does it smell? Brand name comes second. Bottle design. This is fascinating. I don't know if you have seen a bottle designs of Arabic fragrances. Bottle design and in terms of its packaging, that is got a great deal when you are selecting a fragrance. And any Arab fragrance will have maybe 3 to 5 layers of packaging before you actually get into the product. So you will have a box, then you have an inner box, then you have an inner box where the bottle is being managed, and then you find the bottle, and bottle is already in some glove. You take the glove out, and then the bottle comes out. So it can go up to 3 minimum layers of packaging, up till 7. You might get some, like for example, you must have seen Killian with the key and all of that stuff. So it's very elaborated, and at the end you might find this much bottle. So this is how it's been done. And obviously the pricing. Pricing is the least priority in terms of fragrance, especially when we're talking about luxury fragrances or niche fragrances. Pricing comes at the end. I don't care what price is it. First of all, I should like the fragrance. The brand name should put me something more elegant, and bottle design should be fascinating. I should cherish the bottle itself. Okay, evaluation criteria. It's again extremely generalized, but we have done it with Nielsen. It's like, does it have an appealing fragrance? Does it last for a long? Is it a strong perfume? I think the last one, which is it a strong perfume? That's something becomes a number 1 criteria, how impactful it is. Yes, it does consider the weather, the environment over there in the Middle East, but apart from that, it is one of the most effective and most powerful way to communicate from one sex to another, and even to the same sex, because most of the men wearing black, white most of the time, and most of the women wearing black all the time. So what they need to communicate, how do I show my personality to you, is basically for women, maybe their bag, maybe their shades, and maybe their rings, the jewelry they wear. And for the men, it's mostly their car keys, their watch, and fragrances at the end of the day. So that becomes the most important factor. That's why if I want to put an impression on you, I'll be wearing a very, very strong fragrance so that you know what kind of personality I am, and I have to have an impact on you. This is very important. Obviously, the brand name, bottle design, pricing, and occasion we've talked about in last slide, but I think the strong impact of a fragrance, and when the more stronger it gets, then it's become very crucial that what kind of that loud fragrance would be. It is spicy, it's floral, it's natural, it's oud, it's oriental, what it is. Oh, future. We are looking at $33 billion by 2015, and that is not the figure on the fragrances only. We're talking about the beauty sector. I was talking to somebody, as I've told you in the beginning, that we do not have a certified number. I was talking to somebody from Saudi Arabia, and he said to me that one of the biggest, in fact, manufacturers of fragrances, and he said to me that the fragrance market only of Saudi Arabia, which is Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, is $5 billion. I don't believe it, but this is what I get to know the information, and I don't think the figure is too far. These are few US dollar 1.5 billion. This is some of the thing, some visuals you will see in the consumer and the retail sector quickly. This is one of the biggest multi-brand store called Paris Gallery in UAE. This is, I don't know how many of you have been to Dubai, in the Dubai duty free. It's the biggest, the top biggest sellers are fragrances, tobacco, liquor, and chocolates. And fragrance is one of the top seller of Dubai duty free. This is one of the biggest mall in the world. That's called Dubai Mall. And it has, and by the way, I just heard 2 weeks back, they issued a press release. They are extending it more. So they're developing it, making it a more bigger mall. I don't know where is the end to this. Grazie mille. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
So what I want to do is, I think the most interesting thing, what we had talked about, is distributing some perfumes. So let's start with that. And if you can just give us, Francesca, if you can give us one blotter for him and one blotter for me, and let Shahzad know which perfume, which one do you want to start with, Shahzad? Let's start with Amouage. Okay. One of the things that Shahzad and I have been talking about a lot is, and obviously something that you all think about a lot, something that the large licensees from L'Oreal to Estee Lauder to Coty to LVMH think about a lot, is what are the tastes and preferences of each market? And we all know, can you hear me? Oh, the translators can't hear me? Sorry. What are the perfume? God, that sounds loud. Is that really loud? One of the things that we think is very interesting and it's very, very important is this perfume going to perform in the world? All of the, as you know, all of the names of the perfumes are protected worldwide. The concept is protected worldwide. Because of the ease of transporting these things, they really have to work worldwide. One of the huge exceptions, to my mind, there are two huge exceptions. Asia in general, China in specific, and the Middle East. And I think that the Middle East is the most different. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. No, for sure. It's very different because it's not. It's because we never talk about it, but I really want to share with you. Fragrance in the Middle East is not a cosmetic. It's not add-on. Fragrance is embedded in culture and religion. We wear fragrances not because it's a cosmetic, we like the way we use shampoo or soap. Fragrances are basically part of our daily ritual. In some days of, for example, Islamic days, it is basically you get blessed if you are wearing a fragrance. So it is something far beyond a cosmetic. It's not for us. For fragrances is part of us. So it is far, and that's why, as Chandler just said, that's why it's so important. That's why it's so different.
And in California, you get cursed if you wear a fragrance.
Exactly.
So now, which perfume is this?
This is Amouage.
Is this the masculine? This is the masculine, right?
Yeah, this is the masculine one.
Okay. To me, what's extraordinary about this is virtually unusable in the United States. There are very few men who would use this. There are very few women who would use this. Part of the problem is I don't like to reduce this stupid reductionism in the approach that we take to perfume. I really dislike and I'm against in any aesthetic terms. We smell the whole work. We don't smell the individual raw materials. In this case, however, I think it's important to talk about one raw material, which is cumin. And cumin smells, as we all probably know, like body odor. And it is virtually impossible to get an American man or woman to wear it.
Yeah, because I think we were discussing yesterday about this also, and especially this particular fragrance, we in fact smelled it together, and with the Middle Eastern perspective, I was saying to him that in the first note, if you take the top note, it is a bit strong, but if you do it for 2 minutes and you feel about it, the second and the third notes are very fresh and floral, and if you smell it, the first it hits you, and then it goes down, and then you see second and third notes being very fresh and floral, which is very, very European. So what I really got impressed with this combination of this floral and with impactful oud fragrance is definitely the combination of it, which I have not been experienced before in any fragrance. But I think the challenge what Amouage have with this fragrance is because I have not used it well.
Wait, you mean you haven't experienced this combination outside the Middle East?
No, I have not.
That's what you meant?
No, not even in the Middle East.
Oh, really?
Even in the Middle East, no, I have not seen. This is
this
the unique,
combination.
This combination, I have not smelled it before.
Huh? Interesting.
I have not, and maybe, and that's where I was going, because I think the challenge behind this kind of a combination is that the impactful fragrance, which is I think very, very striking, I think that will remain for some time, and I don't know if that floral and that's fresh and the natural kind of fragrance can stick to you for a longer time, because the first note will definitely have a long, deep impact on your body, but I'm not sure how long it, but if Amouage is able to contain both balanced for a longer time, I think that is a great deal. That's what I feel about it.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. I don't know if you know this, but the Yves Saint Laurent perfume, Kouros, does anybody, who knows what Kouros smells like? Okay. Kouros is in the top 20 list in France. It has been in the top 20 list, I think often in the top 10, since it was introduced. Kouros does not even appear on the American list. It's nowhere. And it is very much like this.
Exactly.
It is a hugely animalic body odor perfume.
Yeah.
And Luca Turin once said to me, you know, in Arabia, among Arabs, you know, they love that. Americans, you know, you put that stuff on and they say, go take a shower. And you put it on Japanese and they say, I must now commit suicide.
Suicide, yeah.
So.
Should we go to the next?
Yep, next one.
Yeah.
I love this. I absolutely love this. It's nice. It's beautiful, right? What is the name? I forget the name of it. It's the recent one.
This is
So this is Byredo 1996.
No,
Inez and Vinud.
Inez and I think this
Yeah.
girl and boy.
I think it's absolutely wonderful. Now, what do you think? There's a strong, this is not to me in any way a perfume that I would associate with the Middle East, but I think, having talked to you, that this is something that could do well because it has a power.
See, because I chose this fragrance particularly today, basically, because to my understanding, this is, I think, the next big international brands going to the Middle East. That's what I feel about it. I think this is next big thing from the Middle East, from the international world going to the Middle East. I will not be surprised if it becomes one of the top sellers in the Middle East. Yes, in the Middle East. Because it's, see, we need to appreciate and we need to consider the learning process of Arab consumers there. Yes, they have been a fan of oud and they have been fan of agarwood and all of that. But they are traveling, number one, and then they are being exposed in front of international floral fragrances. And they are on the line of the likingness towards floral, fresh, aromatic notes. And I think this is again, this is another one, second one, which do not have a dominant note, but it is a combination in a set balance, if you agree with me, and it has an impactful also. I think it's a combination not in the way we just experienced Amwaj, but it is, I think, a balanced between the high and the low notes. And if you smell it, see, it is, to my understanding, it is strong enough to stand one of the top sellers in the Middle East.
What I think is interesting about it is it has a very, very, very strong cucumber opening, which is a very strange green. It's a water, but not cologne at all. Yeah. You can smell underneath. It's actually a cousin of the Amawad.
Exactly.
I
didn't want to say that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would find it difficult to wear. It's not an aesthetic that appeals to me personally. I find that the thickness, the weight of it.
No, I'll wear it. I'll wear it every day.
Would you?
I'll wear it every day. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
I find it to me, it would feel like wearing armor. You know?
I don't agree, but yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, I love this. Okay, let's talk about
next one.
Tola. Now, what we're going to talk about is something I became a little bit selfish about it. It's from Dubai. We have got this fragrance from Dubai, made in Dubai, and it is touching all the international fairs, exhibition, and even retail scene. So I got a little bit selfish, and I said, let's talk about it. Good, bad, and our views about it. It's a Tola. It's done by a Marathi, which is UAE national guy who has been passionate about fragrances and come up with this. So let's smell. I want to hear, in fact, from Chandler. What do you think?
I love this. I hate to say it, but this is two other perfumes. It is exactly. Do you know Ambre Narguilé by Hermès?
Yeah, Hermès.
The Hermès. It's a virtual copy of that. It's a little less smooth, but it's this gourmand, ambery, syrupy.
Ambery for sure. Ambery big time.
Yeah, but it's just a huge sweet. I mean, it's caramel-esque and vanillic, and it's wonderful to eat. It's also a bit coromandel, which I love, which is really Ambre Narguilé, but light. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It is a version of that trope that is less thick, that is cleaner, that is lighter, that is more infused with air and light. I think this is absolutely wearable in New York. I think it's wearable in the U.S.
Okay. There's another reason. Other reason I picked this particular brand and a fragrance to talk about with you today is basically what I just said about Byredo, where I was saying that yes, it will go hit in the Middle East. Now look at, smell this fragrance, which came from a pure Marathi Middle Eastern person who created the fragrances, and he did not go to the route of strong, impactful oud, agarwood line. He didn't go there. He went into a little bit of Western, a little bit of sweet, a little bit of more fresh and floral. That is the thing, that's the trend I was trying to prove with Barredo, and that's why I believe Barredo will rock. And that's what, because look at this, and if a Marathi can create these kind of fragrances, going away from the oud and the impactful line of fragrances, if we are creating these kind of fragrances, that's mean there is a shift in Middle Eastern consumers. I think they had enough of oud and oriental, and now we are getting into a new era where we are going to experience and experiment a combination of these two worlds, and I think it will become a one world very, very soon.
I think there's something interesting about this, which is there's a fundamental difference, also a break in style, in aesthetic school. This is abstract expressionism. Yeah. This refers to nothing in the real world, and you could say, well, yes, you just use the word caramel and you use these, but it's not caramel, it's not syrup, it's not these other things. There's nothing I know that really smells like this. It's abstract. It doesn't have a real world reference to me. The older ones do. The older ones, you smell the rose, the cumin, the wood, and that's a completely, which is a figurative approach to it, and it's Rembrandt versus Rothko.
Yes, I think this fragrance, I think, is a signal to all of us, international as well as Middle Eastern fragrance industry. I think it's a signal. It is, you can say, it is a kind of sign that we should not stick to one route of fragrance lines. Look at it, a fragrance which is so floral, coming from the Middle East and going international. I think this is what I was thinking around 5 years back, and now we have this fragrance in our hands.